everybody. Welcome back to the Mindful of You podcast. This is episode 32, Maybe IDK. Today I'm talking about the song called Maybe I Don't Know or Maybe IDK by Jon Bellion. So I discovered this song, I think, like my sophomore year of college, my first year at UVU. I think somebody showed it to me, and I really liked it, and it really, really helped me at the time. That time of my life was extremely, anxiety ridden for me. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea where I was going. I was basically a lost puppy. It was like I think a few months after I got there, I started my second round of therapy with a new therapist, but I was still heavily working through some pretty extreme anxiety. I was having weekly, bi-weekly panic attacks, living with roommates and stuff. And all in all, I was still relatively happy. And that's something I like to tell people. I'm like, even if you're in it, like really in it, as far as anxiety, depression and stuff goes, it's okay to have moments where you don't feel bad. Like, I think some people think like, that they almost have to put on a show, or like people won't believe me if I'm doing well today. But if you're doing well one day and bad the next, that's okay. Like, let yourself have good days. Like, it's okay. And that doesn't mean you're any less sick or any less, deserving of medical attention or help or assistance just because you have some good days. So I still look back on that time in my life pretty fondly. I had a lot of fun living with roommates. And I was also still friends with a lot of the people that served in my mission. And it was a really fun time in my life. And that's when I met my husband, and we started dating and everything. And it was a huge time of growth, a huge time of healing, a huge time of recovery. And yeah, I wasn't doing super well as far as like some mental health things went, but I still look back on it and think like, dang, a lot of that was really fun. It wasn't all bad. So anyway, one of my major sources of anxiety is I didn't have any idea what the future looked like. And I had a lot of anxiety, and still do, around relationships and around dating. I don't have, obviously, anxiety around dating anymore. So being married is extremely helpful for my anxiety, since a lot of it revolved around the social stress I felt in the dating scene. But that's still where a lot of my anxiety lies, is like relationship OCD and relationship anxiety. And so that pattern has kind of come through, but it is so much better than it used to be. So I think part of the reason dating stressed me out was because of this future anxiety. I was basically trying to like put pieces of the puzzle together that I didn't have yet. And I would try and come up with what I was going to do in every scenario. It's really anxiety inducing to try and control what's going to happen when a whole nother human being is involved. And that's what I was doing. So this song really helped me because I needed to accept and know that in dating and in life, sometimes you just don't know. Actually, I'm going to go a little farther and say most of the time you don't know what's going to happen. You can feel pretty confident. Like, I feel like pretty confident that I'm going to wake up tomorrow, but I don't know, And like, I think sometimes accepting how little you know can be, it's scary, but also freeing at the same time. Because a lot of times we think there's just a couple things we don't know. We think like, oh, well, obviously I know like the sun's going to come up tomorrow. Obviously I know, that I'm going to go to work tomorrow. Obviously I know that we're going to go on this vacation in 2 weeks, but you don't. You don't know any of that. And so then when something comes up that you feel like you don't know, it seems like a problem that needs to be solved. Like you need to know. But it doesn't, because everything's unknown, and we can plan and we can prepare, and a lot of things do work out how we anticipate that they're going to. But we don't know that for sure. So, I'm going to read, part of the lyrics. The verses don't seem super applicable. Mostly I really like the chorus here, and I'm just going to talk about, the concepts of it. But it says, basically the verse is like, I wonder this, I wonder this, I wonder this, I wonder this. So some examples. I wonder why I feel short when I know my money's tall. I wonder why I miss everyone and I still don't call. I wonder why I can't run that fast in my dreams. And then this says, although, I guess if I knew tomorrow, I guess I wouldn't need faith. I guess if I never fell, I guess I wouldn't need grace. I guess if I knew his plans, I guess he wouldn't be God. So maybe I don't know, but maybe that's okay. Maybe that's okay. So I think the reason this helped me so much is the portion of, but maybe that's okay. I think what we try to do as humans is we try to piece together what the future is going to look like. I think part of my issue was, well, I don't think it really stemmed from this, but it is something I've considered when thinking about this concept of like future anxiety, is I feel like I learned in church to like make decisions in advance. I don't know if any of you have ever heard that concept before, and sometimes it's really helpful. I still do this. Like, I definitely plan in advance. Like, I'm not telling you guys I'm like spontaneous and like, well, I don't know what's going to happen, so I'll just fly by the seat of my pants. That is not me. I'm constantly making plans and preparing. But what I'm trying to say when I say you don't know anything is basically like helping you look at things from a lens of like, you don't need to be worried about the things you don't know, because nothing is truly certain. So there's no need to be anxious about it. It's just how it is. But anyway, making decisions in advance. Like, I always feel like I was told, like, decide now, like, what you're going to do if, somebody offers you alcohol. Like, decide now that you're going to say no. I think in that context, deciding in advance actually works really well. But I also think we try to apply it to other things. One thing I hear a lot is like, what am I going to do, like, if my husband cheats on me? Or like, what are you going to do if your husband cheats on you? Would you leave him? Would you automatically get divorced? Like, is that an automatic no or whatever? And so people think about these things, and one, not a fun topic to think about. Nobody wants to think about that. Two, you don't have all the pieces to the puzzle a lot of the times. So I think part of the reason we try to do this thing where we make decisions in advance is because it feels like we're coming up with a solution for all scenarios. Like, it's like, oh, I know what I'm going to do if that happens, so now I don't have to worry about that happening. Sometimes this can be helpful when it comes to anxiety for the future, and sometimes it's not. So it's kind of knowing when to implement that tool and when not to, because I have definitely used the tool of like, what's the worst case scenario and how would you handle the worst case scenario? And sometimes that's helpful when people are catastrophizing, and sometimes it doesn't work, and something I keep coming back to, especially when it comes to ambiguous questions like what are you going to do if your husband cheats on you, is you can't put together a puzzle you don't have all the pieces for. So a lot of times we just don't know the background or the context for so many of these things. And people like to think that they know exactly how they would handle something big like that in their lives. But until you have all the pieces, you can't put the puzzle together. So I know that might be controversial to some, but I truly don't believe you can know answers to questions like that until it happens, because you don't have all of the pieces to your puzzle. And this is true for so many things. Like, I have a lot of things coming up in the future, like potential career changes, potential growth in our family. We're building a house, and there is a lot of unknown. I still get anxiety about it, for sure. I have moments where I, go off in my head a little bit and worry about things. But my goal isn't to eliminate worry completely. That would be cool. It's just not super realistic. So I'm not going to be up on myself for sometimes worrying. I just like to kind of keep it in check and watch it. Be curious about it. Notice it. And there are so many things that are unknown for my life right now. Like, the house thing, like interest rates are, not great. That's a thought. 'Cause they could be worse, right? Some people might look at the interest rate and be like, that's a really good interest rate. So that's definitely a thought, but I have some thoughts around the interest rates that they're not what I want them to be. And where we're building a house, we're not locked into an interest rate yet. And so it's easy for me to, worry about that. But the fact of the matter is, I still don't have all the pieces to the puzzle. I don't know exactly what our rate will be. I don't know exactly what our monthly payment will be. I don't know exactly what expenses will come up or anything like that. I don't know exactly how much money we'll have by the time our house is built. I don't know exactly. I don't have all the pieces. And so when you do have all the pieces, or some of the pieces, which I do have some of them, so we can definitely plan and prepare in a lot of ways, and we're doing so, but I don't have all of them. And so it's really easy for me to catastrophize or worry about finances. But ultimately, I have to decide, maybe I don't know, and maybe that's okay. I'm a serial planner, and a lot of people I know are also serial planners. And so it's difficult to accept that there's some things, maybe not everything, but some things that you're going to have to figure out when you get there. And if you look back on your life, I can almost guarantee you'll find moments where you did this, where something came up unexpectedly and you navigated it. Maybe you didn't navigate it perfectly, but you likely navigated it pretty well. And so you have to build this trust in yourself of, I'll know when I get there, or I will figure out how to know when I get there. And so stewing on it in the now doesn't serve you. Right now, I don't have a mortgage. I have rent. We have to pay rent. But right now, I don't have that. Right now, I don't have to buy furniture. Right now, I'll never have to buy furniture. That's just a want. But right now, we don't have to figure out landscaping. Right now, that's not a now problem. And so spending a lot of time stewing over it, spending some time stewing over it is probably okay. It may be healthy, thinking about how those numbers are going to line up. But spending a lot of time, nah, not worth it. It's not worth it, and it's not going to help anything. And trust me, I'm not patient all the time with it. So it's okay if you're still figuring out how to navigate future anxiety. I think the reason I felt this so much in dating is because, one, I had zero trust in myself. I was so unsure of how I would handle rejection. I was so unsure of how I would handle so many things that basically any scenario, I was scared of a relationship going well, and I was scared of a relationship going poorly. I didn't like, no wonder I was anxious, because there was no good outcome in my brain. And then there's a whole nother person involved that I didn't know how they were going to act or anything. And so learning to accept that I don't know has been a huge antidote to my relationship anxiety. Like, I can't know what problems could arise in my relationships one day. I can't know what decisions my spouse is going to make. I can't know what decisions I'm going to make. But I do know the more I've accepted that his life and his journey is a part of the maybe I don't know, the more I've been able to keep my eyes on my own paper and decide, well, what am I going to do? And then the more you develop that trust in yourself, when problems do arise, you go, well, this is how I'm going to handle that. Because you know yourself and you know your values and what you believe. And with that, you can better react to problems. So my biggest thing here is you can't put together a puzzle you don't have all the pieces for. And so allow yourself to wait until you have the pieces. I think there's some quote that says something like, worry means you suffer twice. I definitely believe that's true. I also believe that worry is super normal. And so don't make yourself suffer 3 times by worrying, getting mad at yourself for worrying, and then, enduring whatever comes from that worry. So anyway, I'll leave it at that today. I really like the song. I think it swears some. So if that's not your jam, don't listen, but I'll still link it in the description. So thank you so much for listening. Y'all have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.